P-Record back with another one. We got a couple clips for you guys today. From the most recent podcast done by Dave Smith, premiered yesterday. With Nick Fuentes, and there was a lot of good clips on there. First clip I'm gonna show you guys is Nick Fuentes talking about how he wants a Republican to run in 2028 and thinks that we need a Republican as our next president again, just like how we have Trump right now. And he goes off saying if anyone's gonna be a Republican, he doesn't want JD Vance because of his connections with Israel, and we know Nick Fuentes he doesn't really side with Israel like that, So, yeah, I was gonna play you guys the first clip. I ask if you guys like, subscribe, comment down below your guys' thoughts on the video. I appreciate it. It helps out the channel, and yeah, let's get into these Nick Fuentes clips. Enjoy.
Now, with the new media landscape, with the amount of influence that me and you have right now, I don't know, we've got some opportunities to say like, hey, no, we're not just going to go along with this. We ought to plant a flag at like one reasonable point and go, we're not bending on this.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we need to throw our weight around, and we'll have a much better opportunity to do that because in 28, it's an open field on both sides. In 2016, 2024, Trump was like the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room, immovable. Like you, me, all of us put together, like no one was going to knock him off that trajectory, which is why maybe it was naive for me to like withhold the vote outside of like reasons in principle or for rhetoric. But in 28, we can shape the race because, like you said, I don't think Vance is a shoo-in at all. He's not a national figure. Very good chance he goes the way of DeSantis, where it's a failure to launch, it's a crash and burn situation. And then it's wide open. And I would say that, people say that I'm like a Democrat or like I wanted Kamala to win. And it's like you think I don't know that Trump is better than Kamala. Everyone knows that. But I love what you said about these like knock-on second-order effects because you're 100% right. Biden winning and like Trump getting banned from YouTube and all that, that's probably why Elon bought Twitter. Like that maybe doesn't happen in a universe where Trump won the 2020 election and all the other downstream effects that took place. Trump being president now is sweeter than it would have been from 20 to 24. And you could have never predicted that, like you said, that Biden winning would force the pendulum to swing in the other direction. I think there was something true about, Trump and Kamala in 24. If Kamala inherited the war in Gaza and the Ukraine war, would we get something insanely radical in 28, like a real reset? Maybe. You can never know. What I would say, though, about 28, and this is maybe new, is like when you look at what Trump is doing, he's creating a lot of tension right now. The ICE raids, the militarization of law enforcement, the war everywhere in Venezuela, Ukraine, Iran, the advance of AI and technology. It's like if a Democrat wins in 29, I'm moving to another country because whoever comes into power from the left is going to want blood because they're going to want vengeance for all. If they regroup, that's sort of presumptuous. Yeah. If they regroup and reorganize, they're going to kill us because like in Chicago, I live right by where this is happening. They set up this detention facility. They're rounding people up, putting hype edits of it on Twitter. It's pissing liberals off. Liberals are going to the place, protesting. The cops are beating the shit out of them and laughing and taunting them. More protesters come. Now they're ramming cars into ICE cars. The cops are shooting them. Now they're bringing in DHS. It's like we've gone so far up this escalation ladder in like 3 months. And what I fear is that Trump is not going to finish the job. He's not going to salt the earth and destroy Antifa. So all he's doing is pissing these people off. And that means the violence is going to get worse. They're going to organize. We're going to get like Mamdani for president in 28 or, something along that vein. And that's why I think it's really important that like a Republican does win, but it just can't be Vance. So like that's kind of how I'm thinking about it because they're really barking up the wrong tree, in my opinion. They're signing checks they can't cash.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't entirely close the door on Vance. I'm just like, he's got to show me something. Yeah. I got to see something that makes me go like, okay, I can get on board with this at least, which I just haven't seen yet.
Facts, that's how I feel too. About the upcoming race, I like JD Vance personally. I think he speaks well, the only thing, the downside about that is, his connection to Israel. He has a lot of connections over there. And I've heard stories too that they groomed him. That the reason why we have JD Vance right now as vice president because Israel groomed him. So the day that it is his turn to become president, he's gonna go back up Israel like how we see right now with Trump. Not saying he's fully pro-Israel, but you know what I mean. He backs him up. He sends him money, foreign aid. All that, And I just think for sure we need a Republican to run. That's first and foremost. We can't have a Democrat. Gavin Newsom, AOC, Hakeem Jeffries. Those guys, they're just idiots. So we need a Republican. But we can't just have any Republican either, too. We need to have one that's gonna fight for, of course, our rights. Who's gonna back us up. Who's gonna ride for us, and just overall just do good by us. And that's why we elect our officials. Okay, second clip I want to get into for you guys is Nick talking about the claims that he attacks critics of Israel, how Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, how they bash him, for talking about Israel like that. We all know Tucker Carlson, any chance he can get, he'll throw in a jab towards Nick, because we all know Nick doesn't like Israel. Personally, I don't fuck with Israel. I don't mess with Israel either. I don't really like it, what they're doing right now. But yeah, let's get into this clip, and you guys enjoy.
Like you're trying to take him down
Right.
a peg. You get what I'm saying?
I do, and from the outside looking in, I get it. But I would say that with Tucker, it started before all that. It started before he was ever criticizing Israel. This was in 2023, at the beginning of 2023, before October 7th. And,
Right.
and Tucker never said anything negative about Israel up to that point, with the exception of one thing he did about the ADL. And, same thing with Candace. I supported Candace like I supported Tucker to the hilt. I had an account called Standis Owens. I stan Candace Owens. And we were like gassing her up during the whole thing. And all I ever said about Candace is that it felt like she was kind of blowing smoke up my ass about why she wouldn't do the show with me. And I didn't like that, after she gets all this clout, she's clouded up. She then starts saying it's the Frankists. It's the Frankist. And I said, yeah, that's not true. Like, that's nonsense. And even this year, she invites me on her show, and I ask her, I said, well, is it going to be a hit piece? She goes, no, I don't set anybody up. I get all dressed up. I fly down there, look into, she extended the olive branch, I accept. And she's motherfucking me about drama from a year ago, about are you racist? Are you anti-Semitic? Why aren't you married? All this kind of stuff. Friendly interview. I don't even think it was cordial. I think it was basically, it was an attempted hit job. And, so like with you, look, we have disagreements, and here we are talking about them. And I think I said during my show, like, I like you and I respect you, but I also speak freely. And if I disagree, I say something. And, these other people got to recognize, like Tucker and Candace, they're more powerful than me. They have institutional backing. Tucker is from Fox. Candace is from Daily Wire. They never got censored from anything. Me, I never had any. They tried to throttle me in the crib. By they, I mean conservatives, from the time I was 18. And I've been banned from most things for 5 years. So it just, to me, it's like a little unfair. It's like when Ben Shapiro quote tweeted me with 1,000 followers. For Tucker,
well, that's something else.
I think it's similar. Tucker and Candace getting together and saying, oh, this guy's like a fed. It's like, yeah, well, you guys have millions and millions of followers that you accumulated serving the system that I was getting killed by for 5 years. So that's why I feel like I have a special license to attack, because it's punching up. But, I don't know what to make of Tucker and Candace. I would say, if I was being charitable, that there's immense distrust on both sides.
Yeah.
And for obvious reasons, because I'm an unknown quantity on the outside who, they probably don't watch everything. They don't know what's happening down here. And on the other side, they are exiting the institutions. So from someone on the outside, it's like, are you CIA? Where are your loyalties? What do you really believe? Are you concealing what you really believe? And to what extent? And so, I guess when I gave Tucker a black eye, so to speak, and kind of retaliated very strongly, maybe at the minimum, it made him just kind of respect what I represent. But I'm open to all possibilities, making up with either of them.
Well, that's good.
Nick, it's facts, when it comes to Candace and Tucker. Nick, like you said, from the time he was 17, 18, I mean, he was censored, you know? I mean, he said some stuff, they didn't like it, and then they proceeded to censor him. You know, we all know when he went to go board the plane, you know, he wasn't allowed to fly. He got his bank account frozen. So a lot of stuff came along with that. And Candace and Tucker Carlson, they never had to deal with that. It's like you said, Tucker Carlson was on Fox News, you know? He had the backbone behind him to like he said, accumulate all their followers. So he had that backbone. Same thing with Candace at the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro, you know? They were doing their thing, you know, and they were on the, what do you call it? What am I trying to say? They were still doing their thing, you know, like they had the backbone, they had everything. And when it comes to Nick, you know, he never had that, you know. He always had to be on his own, independent. Just like he said, the system was attacking him the whole time. They were coming for his head, you know. And that's how they tried to suppress him. They wanted to suppress him down, but it just didn't work. And we all saw, obviously, right now. I mean, he's blowing up, which he has been in the last couple of years. Real people knew who Nick Fuentes is, you know, but to the average person that just watches the news, they probably don't. They just think he's an anti-Semite. When in reality, it's far from that, you know. Okay, next clip I got for you guys is Nick going in on Charlie Kirk, talking about how Israel is, about his relationship with Israel, you know, Charlie's relationship, how he switched up at the end. Well, I wouldn't say switch up. It's just like a change of heart, you know. He probably just wasn't feeling being Israel or pro-Israel no more, you know. So I'm gonna let you guys get into this clip and enjoy it.
I mean, if someone other than Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, I'd of course be very interested in that, but I just don't see evidence for that. And people are trying to. It's like anything. In hindsight, you can look at every person's reaction in the crowd and say they're a decoy or an operative, whatever. There's really nothing hard or conclusive that proves anything other than that happened yet. And I'm open to possibilities. What is interesting, but a different conversation, maybe related, is the Israel thing. And I think very clearly, as you and Tucker and Candace and others have, and Max Blumenthal have said, there's ample evidence that at the minimum, there was something dynamic there. He was a pro-Israel guy for many years. Now, seems like that was in flux, and a lot of the evidence has kind of been knocked out. This Bill Ackman retreat, you know, Bill Ackman produced the texts, and Charlie arranged the whole thing. And it was a forum where I'm sure disagreement was expressed, but it showed generally they were still aligned. More interesting was his interview with Megyn Kelly.
Yeah.
Where clearly he platformed Tucker and you, and it seemed that supporting Israel was in contention, which they hate that that's even on the table, because it matters how you set the table. It doesn't necessarily even matter what your position is, but they don't want that to be up for debate. Do we support Israel? Right. Not a question they want people to ask.
Well, especially when you're losing the debate.
Yes.
You know, I mean, that doesn't help either.
Yeah, especially when you get booed and, you know, killed in the debate. They don't like that either. And so even that, they were really pushing back on Charlie, threatening. I guess the new revelation is they took the money. They took the $2 million. It's a pretty big organization, but that's not a negligible chunk of change for Charlie and Turning Point USA. And he goes in the group chat, and assuming, like you said, that it's authentic, you know, that is, I think, the most stark thing we've heard from him on the record, where he says, I have to leave the Israel camp. And I would say that's even different than what he said on Megyn Kelly. Because on Megyn Kelly, he said, oh, you're going to call me an anti-Semite? He sort of stopped himself. He said, well, you're going to lose me. That's what he was going towards. Yeah, and then, you're not going to lose me. He goes, but I'm going to be deflated. In that text, he says, I'm out. And I would characterize that as I was his rival, and I'm very cynical about him. He was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. He was really in the middle because, like you said, it's young people. They are Israel critical, and he had to go and defend the bullshit to them at the campus, in the arena, in the pit. You know, so it's easy for them in the ivory tower to say, yeah, we love Israel still. He's actually having to get the shit, and Hunter Groyper's on the line saying, why do you still love Israel? And I think that he recognized it became a liability and started to try and accommodate everybody, Tucker and the other side, Candace and the other side, the Groyper, so to speak, or the Dave Smith people and the other side. And the other side wasn't having it. They said, you better get the fucking line or we're pulling the plug. And I think he defiantly said, I will not be bullied. I thought it would have been interesting to see where that would have went, but sadly we'll never know.
Yeah,
man. Um, it's like Nick said. I mean, 'cause Charlie was in the arena. I mean, he was every single day. Going to the campuses, talking about he had to defend Israel, right? Because he's pro-Israel. So every time, like, it's easy for the people, like, man, now the dudes from above to sit down and be like, oh, you got to do this or that. Well, yeah, it's easy for them because they ain't got to go down into the battle and go scrap with everyone. They ain't got to, like Nick said, face 100 gripers, ask questions. Why do you support Israel? Why do you support this or that? They don't have to deal with any of that. So it's like Charlie probably got to a point. It's like, well, I mean, like Nick said, it's gonna be a liability at some point. So he probably thought, I'm gonna have to conform, and I'm gonna have to agree with both sides, hear both sides out, and that's what he did. And we all know what happened after that. Rest in peace to Charlie, because he was a good guy. Okay, next clip I got for you guys is people hating groypers because they swarm people on the internet. People don't like groypers, because they ask some hard questions, and I mean they're not really hard questions. I mean it's just common sense, But if you know a griper, they like to go up, get their thing off, and then we all see the person answering the question, they get triggered, But yeah, here's Nick talking about groypers and saying that we need more groypers and a state.
Like people hate the groypers because
I do think that I mean, I think there's like they don't want to pay the price of being an Israel critic, but I think there's a new price that's going to come from not taking a stand on this at all.
I totally agree, and I have kind of made that my mission. Like people hate the groypers because the groypers swarm on the internet. And
they sure do. They sure do, those bastards.
Even among my good friends who happen to be Jewish, they swarm and they make people upset, and they're applying pressure. And that was something that I did very intentionally in 22. I did my AFPAC 3 conference. We invited Joe Kent, who was running for Congress, and he was America First. He's from the intel community, anti-war. I think his wife tragically was killed in Syria. And by all appearances, seemed to be a good faith critic of the war machine. Well, we invited him to our conference. He didn't show up. And then the next day, even though he wasn't even there, he disavowed me and said, I disavow Nick Fuentes. That's not populism. He said, particularly his views on Israel. And I said, see, that's the problem because, and this is going on to this day, whether it's Kent, Trump, Biden, Charlie Kirk, if you go against Israel, they make you pay a heavy price. AIPAC is coming in with the berserkers, the ADL's coming in like you're going to pay. So what do? Hey, I got to get him off my back. I got to disavow you. I have to sign the letter. It's easier. It's the path of least resistance. I said, we have to create an opposing force and push in the other direction. We need people to know that if you go too in favor of Israel or condemn the Israel critical right, you're going to pay a heavy price too. You're going to get, and we don't have money power, but we got people power. You're going to have somebody in your district asking you about Israel at every stop. You're going to have stickers put up. We're going to make a website. We're going to do this. He lost by 2,000 votes. He lost by like less than 1%. Biggest upset in the midterms. Now, maybe that was us, maybe it wasn't, but you can't know for sure. Now, looking back, would he have made the same remark? Maybe not, because he says it wasn't worth it. And I'm a big believer in we got to get serious. And this was the idea behind Groyper War II. This was the idea behind the, what do they call them in Michigan in the Democratic primary? They voted like no preference.
Yeah.
We need to make it visible and known like, AIPAC has the money. We have the votes. And like you said, we can't budge on that.
Okay, so here's where I would slightly disagree with you. Although I get your point. I certainly get the point about like making there has to be a price tag also for this.
Oops, I had my mic muted. But like I was saying, it's facts, I mean, that's the thing with the groypers. You can't get over them because they're like a pest, They're gonna keep coming after you until you conform and answer their questions, and that's the thing I like about Nick and the groypers, because I consider myself a groyper too, because we're not afraid to answer or ask hard questions, or just ask honest questions and just talk to them, That's they don't like it because, like you said, they roll in packs, they don't like that. Democrats, they just don't like that, man. Okay, everyone, I got one last clip for you guys. not trying to take up too much of your guys' time. I got Nick again talking about Charlie Kirk, thinking that he was a mischaracterized rebel. And just talking again about how Israel was, he was with Israel, back in the month.
It was more. Yeah, no, I
just doing them, So I'm gonna let this play, last one play, and yeah.
Totally agree, and people are, I think, misreading it a little bit, like he was this. It's such an important point you made that we do something different, because when we go on our shows, we say, I think, I feel. He didn't really have that luxury,
right?
Because he was not in the business actually of telling it like he sees it. He was in the business of, it was more political, getting everybody to vote, keeping everybody happy, pushing directionally towards the right. And so when people say he was going to be this rebel, he had this epiphany, he just had to get it out, I don't think that's it. I think, like you said, he was put in an impossible situation because the underlying reality had changed. The underlying political dynamic, the right-wing youth are what they are, and the donors are what they are. And as a matter of fact, I don't think he left Israel. I think Israel left him. And that's sort of what the text said. He said, they leave me with no choice.
Yeah.
After they pulled the money, they said, we cannot tolerate, so we're taking the money. And he said, well, I'm not going to be held hostage by your money. I have to side with the ever-growing tent of people that are either indifferent or critical or anti or whatever. And so that is how I read it. And I agree. I mean, to the broader point, even the earlier conversation, Israel is in a lot of trouble, it seems. I was sort of skeptical, but this is very much in flux because it is the right-wing youth. It's Tucker, it's Megyn Kelly, it's Charlie Kirk, it's France, it's Portugal, it's UK, it's Canada, it's like most of America. And, I guess the question is what's on the other side of it. If they win, well, they will have unprecedented power. With Iran out of the picture, they'll be an enormously powerful, maybe the regional power in the Middle East. If they lose or if they don't get everything they want, then they might be in more peril than ever before.
Yep. I mean, it's just facts, At the end, we saw Charlie just not messing with Israel, and he just wanted to do his own thing, and that's what he did. And at the end of the day, I do believe Israel has some sort of involvement in it. I know Nick doesn't believe that. I kind of believe it. I believe that they do have a little bit of involvement, but, we're never going to know the truth at the end of the day. Hopefully we do, but if you guys like this, like the video, subscribe, comment down below your thoughts on it. And, yeah, America first. Keep doing you, and Pure Record out.